Hi, I'm Liz Seeley, founder of Starry-Eyed Strategy, and I help you turn creativity into your greatest competitive advantage. After decades partnering with the world's best, biggest, and most beloved brands, I want to take you behind the scenes to see how the most creative leaders turn ideas into impact. Each episode features leaders from top CEOs and CMOs to founders and authors, revealing how they stay inspired to create brands that launch and last, and how you can do it too. You'll walk away with practical lessons and tools you can use, whether you're repositioning your brand, rallying your team, or planning your next big launch. So let's get started and stay starry-eyed. My guest today is Tammy Billings, one of the most connected and knowledgeable people in restaurant technology today. She's opened 20 plus restaurants and venues, led marketing for multiple restaurant groups, and has built a reputation as someone who operates just like an expert that we'd all depend on. Today, she is VP of Business Development at Signalflare AI, a decision intelligence platform helping restaurant brands close the gap between insight and action. She's also an advisor for Ovation, Everybite, and Scale Social. And she's the co-founder and co-host of my other favorite podcast, Bite Sized and Bossy, the #1 restaurant podcast where she and her co-host, Erin, explore all the tech, trends, and women leaders shaping the industry. Tammy, welcome to Stay Starry-Eyed.
That's a mouthful, and please don't be insulted by the #1 restaurant podcast. I challenge Erin on that all the time. How is it #1? She's like, it is.
It just is.
I
Within
can
the restaurant realm,
going
it
really
is.
fast. It's #1, but also she's in marketing.
Yes, yes. And you girls are going to teach me all that I know as a new podcaster.
You're doing great.
Well, Tammy, as we jump in, what do you hope the brand leader listening will think differently about or try after our chat today?
Well, geez, if they're listening today, I genuinely hope they will give Signalflare a try. I've been working with Mike Lukianoff. I met him 10 years ago at Fishbowl, and I've been with him now for 3 years, started fractionally, part-time, just helping with some leads and closing deals, a lot of service-based engagements. And then earlier this year at Mertech, we released an agentic AI solution that essentially uses our proprietary data, which tells restaurants what's happening outside the four walls. And then it leans into your own data. So it's telling us what's happening inside the four walls. And then we use all of that data in models for pricing, for promotional analytics, for menu analysis, for site selection. It's a pretty robust offering, and you'd be surprised at how affordable it is. So if I could have anything as a result of this podcast, please reach out and ask me about Signalflare.
All right. Well, we'll get into Signalflare. I want you to explain to us what it means, because we have restaurant leaders, we also have, CPG leaders or retail leaders, and I think you're a great example of how to leverage AI to do what we do even better. But before we jump into all that, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about you, how you started your adventures in the marketing realm and what some of those early experiences taught you.
My early experience is okay. So how I got into marketing, I was the yearbook editor, the student body president, swim team captain, and I had a part-time job. The only thing I was ever good at was convincing other people to do fun things. And I realized that that's called marketing. So I originally was like a communications major, wanted to go into advertising. But as I really dug into it, I cared much more about the business side and became a marketer just by default. I was actually graphic designer by trade. That's what I did first. And then I parlayed that into the restaurant industry through LA Live. So I was hired as a special projects director. And LA Live's a $2.5 billion entertainment center in downtown Los Angeles. And it was like the catalyst for the city's like revitalization of downtown. And little old me became their marketing director. And we had 14 restaurants and we opened in 2008. So technology was all new. Facebook was new. Yelp was new. So we were writing these strategies long before there was any book on how to do it. And so I feel like some of my early stuff, like literally in high school, learning PageMaker to edit the yearbook, served me very well in my early communications career.
That makes total sense. And I think that's a common theme when you're in all the different activities. You have an early inclination about what you're going to be best at.
Well, I honestly don't know after I finished my marketing degree and took the finance and took the accounting and took all of the other stuff, I thought, yeah, I'm a marketer." The challenge for me was, I got my undergrad finally when I was about 30, and I needed to make an industry change. I had been working in the financial industry, which I didn't find very exciting, and candidly, I wanted free tickets to Coachella. So I was hell bent on trying to get a job with this company, AEG, and had no idea really what LA Live was or would be and how big that opportunity was.
Sidebar, it's like you followed your passions into where you wanted to be. How did you walk us through how you made that switch then to get the and did you get to Coachella?
Oh, yeah, I've been to 15, though I haven't been in probably 15 years, but yeah, how I got that job was actually pretty interesting. So, a roommate that I had was doing movie screenings, for an Oscar campaign consultant, and I was in college. I was in my late 20s and going back to school, and, they paid, like, $60 an hour, and all I had to do was check in literally like celebrities, start a movie. I got to perform in front of them and, ask them to turn off their phones, and at the end, it was a very discreet sort of understanding of, "How'd you feel about the movie?" So that we could get a sense of how voters might respond for campaigns. And so I was doing that on the side because I wanted to break into entertainment. So I was simultaneously going to school, getting paid, and doing my work for school while I was doing these screenings, and ultimately that led to meeting folks from Wolfgang Puck, to working at places like the Pacific Design Center where they have a screening room, and the gal who was the GM at that, building, she introduced me to Lisa Herzlich, who at the time had come from the Cherry Creek Mall from Denver to downtown Los Angeles. So I remember I went through a pretty rigorous, process, and later on, I found out it was against me. It was me and an internal candidate, and she called me up and she said, "I'm getting a lot of pressure to hire this person internally. Why should I hire you?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you what's going on internally in your politics." I said, "But here's the things I would consider. If you're a new manager, would it be better to have somebody who has the experience? Or if you're a new manager, and is it better to have somebody who's also new so you're on the journey together?" Like, these
Mm.
are things I can't answer. Like, I know I'm a solid candidate. I know I can do the job. I can't answer the question of whether an internal or external candidate is better, and I really put it back on her and gave her a lot to think about, and she was grateful. She was like, "Thank you so much for helping me think through it. You're hired."
Hmm, that's awesome. Is that something that has served you again coming back as more of a thought partner to the people who you would like to work with?
Well, let's see. I have never actually, done the job I've been hired to do, and I will give you that as an example. So at LA Live, I was hired to be a special projects director. They wanted someone to build a farmer's market, and that's how all the work from the PR and the Oscar stuff translated into LA Live because I'd had this wide breadth of event experience. I was working in entertainment, I had some music connections, and so it made me a good candidate for them, but, um sorry, what was the question initially again now?
If
Men
if
or
that
brand?
has happened if that has happened before or since where you're the thought partner for that
Oh,
person who you'd like to work with, because I think there are a lot of people, especially in this environment, economically,
fine.
employment related, who are trying to find their perfect spot, but they're not sure how to position themselves or pitch themselves versus the internal and all the other candidates.
Well, you pitch yourself for what they want for the job. The interviews are really discovery, like, if you're in a sales position, you'd be doing sort of discovery to see if you're gonna be a cultural fit, and, for me, I've taken a ton of jobs. LA Live was one where I was hired to do this thing, but I got in there and I was like, "Well, I really wanna do this." So I just started slowly doing that stuff.
Mm.
So I really wanted to be the marketing director, and that was where I had just finished my degree. It's where all of my experience was, and so, I just really leaned into it, and next thing you know, she's like, "Can you handle our media buying? Oh, can you join us for the, opening event committee?" In fact, I would give myself some credit for us getting Britney Spears to do our opening.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Also, I remember doing an event with, like, Justin Bieber coming up the elevator at 15. I had a cold and I had to come back to work for it, and there was this, some teenager that we were gonna have perform in the plaza, and there were, like, 1,500 screaming girls, and all we cared about was that their moms were there to buy them food.
And are you a believer?
A believer? Well, my niece at the time was a big believer, and so I got a bunch of JB swag, and we actually had a Justin Bieber, birthday party with full-on T-shirts and posters, and so I would say yes, and, I think he's turned out to be a lovely young man, so
I agree. When he started to be, big, when he started to be trending, I don't wanna
mhm.
brag, Tammy, but I was one of the first to have the musical Justin Bieber toothbrush.
So you have the musical taste of a 12-year-old girl too.
Sometimes I do. Now I'm looking for the perfect musical toothbrush that sings Benson Boone for the full 2 minutes. I haven't
Oh,
found it yet, so,
fair
maybe
enough, I will keep my eyes out for that
please
for
do.
you.
Alright, and it sounds like you were taken away from college to do all these things, and then you actually went back and finished the degree to double down on the marketing?
Well, I was at LA Life for a couple of years. We got a new CMO and any new leadership change, I was the first to go. And also the CEO's daughter had graduated from college and she kind of wanted my job. So, anyways, I escorted myself out and went to Westfield and did marketing for their largest assets in the US at the time and managed three shopping centers and had a bit of an experience with a boss there that I caught him committing of some fraud, and they chose not to do anything about it. So I chose to leave and I went to a restaurant company. And so that kind of really solidified my future in restaurants. And I went to another restaurant company. And this is the time period after the recession where like I lost 6 jobs in 4 years. So people know me as somebody who helps them find work, but it is because I went through it and I know how miserable it is. And if you can help people in that time, I try to. I help people transition to new jobs. And when I'm done with them, I always ask them not to share it. So I've helped lots of people find jobs. I don't need the accolades. That's not why I do it. But I was out of work, and I was out of work for like a year, and I was running through my savings, and I was approaching 40, and I was like, I got to figure something out. Like, how did I go from this amazing employee who had an exit at 27? How did I, get private stock in a company at 22? And here I am, and I can't hold a job. Marketers post recession were in a pretty bad spot. And so I opted to go to Pepperdine. I
Mm,
couldn't change what had happened to me historically, but I could definitely improve myself as a candidate, and I had free time, and guess what? Student loan money.
brilliant.
So I went to Pepperdine, took out a little bit in student loans, ended up getting a job at Grow Concepts, which is a restaurant, company with about 30 units at the time, and, worked for them through college, and then once I finished my, master's degree, I got offered a job by one of the tech companies in the space, which was Fishbowl, and where I met Mike Lukianoff in 2015.
Ah, full circle. That's meant
It's
to be.
absolutely full circle, and, once I got to Fishbowl, I recognized, pretty quickly there was a lady there named, Karen Willison. She's still around, but she's not at Fishbowl, and she came up to me and she said, "Hey, if you hear of anybody that's looking, this job is open." And I was like, "Oh, well, so is this job, and these people are looking." And I literally had a Post-it on either side of my monitor, and one side had a list of jobs that I knew were open, and one side had a list of people looking because all my
Mhm.
clients were marketers. And I already had this propensity for helping people find work. So then it became like, oh, well, not only does it help them, but if I can protect this account by helping get someone else in there. So then I really started to see like the real benefit. And it was interesting during COVID. People were reaching out to me during COVID and saying, "You're a godsend. Thanks so much for what you do and all this sharing of jobs." And what I realized, like, I wasn't doing anything different, but their world had changed. So
Mm.
now they valued what I did. And so I try to do it as much as I can. And I'll take one on one calls with people and try to coach them if they're good candidates, or it makes me look good to send a good candidate to people. And if you're saving money on a recruiter, then the business benefits too. So I try to create that like win, win, win. And along the way, I've made some great friends. Renee Scott comes to mind. I met her in 2016. She's been with a ton of different, in fact, you should put her on your podcast. She's amazing. Good luck getting her to schedule because I've been trying to. But yeah, so that's a real passion for me is helping people connect for the purpose of finding a job.
I love that so much. Yeah, you're really good at that, and every time you post those, and I think that's one of the things that just sets you apart, and something we share is connecting people, bringing them together, especially because you are across so many different businesses. I feel like that is, I don't know, part of paying it forward, and also just doing nice things for other people without expecting anything in return. One of the best things you can do.
Well, I will say for anybody who's listening that if you're not subscribing to Liz's newsletter, she also posts jobs, and you post jobs that are broader. I only post restaurant above store jobs. So, like if you had said, "Hey, Tammy, I'm looking for this kind of job," and it wasn't restaurants, and I knew you and I knew about it, I just forward them.
Yeah.
No comment, no nothing. It's just I see it. It takes 2 seconds. Forward that to Liz. Forward this to so and so. And they'll get these messages that are like, "Oh, can you help me with?" And it's like, "No, I just saw it. Here you go." Because
Yep.
you might not see it. And so I try to do that as well. But so when I've gotten your newsletter and I know that folks are looking, I have forwarded that to people as
Oh,
well.
that's so
So
sweet.
if you're out there and you ever think you might want a job, definitely subscribe to Liz's newsletter.
Yeah, follow Tammy, subscribe to the newsletter. I just post the and share the dreamiest jobs in the branding business. So a little bit more industry agnostic, but the best of the best brands. And yeah, that's been one of people's favorite parts of the newsletter, in addition to all the
Mhm.
ways to stay creative. It's fun.
Yep, put it way at the bottom, put it at the top and says, "You gotta read it to get to the good stuff or click
That's right.
here."
That's right.
Read it.
Well, back to your
Yeah.
restaurant tech expertise, and I love
Mhm.
also how in that environment you would go back to school and enhance all of your sweet, sweet skills. You can so do exactly what you wanna do. That makes perfect sense. When you then landed back in restaurant, and especially restaurant tech, tell us a little bit more about helping brands focus on what moves the needle, because now you've seen it all. You work with brands big and small. Tell us how tech is impacting in the many, many options that people have to use. We can get back to Signal Flare too, because it's a super cool tool.
There's so much in there, Liz. I don't even know where to start. My Menno brain will probably forget it. I'm like hashtag Menno brain this episode. Um, I, with the restaurant tech, really for me, the thing that I picked up on, so I went over to Fishbowl and they offered me a job and said, "Do you want to be a salesperson or an account manager?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what either of those jobs do, but I hate salespeople, so I don't wanna do that." I said, "They're dumb, they lie, and they're pushy. I'm gonna be terrible." My COO, who came from sales, laughed at me and forced me to move over, and within 3 months, I was their top salesperson. I had doubled my income, which my grad school likes to take credit for, but it really had nothing to do with getting an MBA, but it did enable me to sit at the table and have those conversations with the CFO and the CEO, and so, for me, the biggest thing and why I did so well at Fishbowl was because I had been on the other side of the table. So when I was talking to a client, I was talking to myself and I could go in and say, "Here's how I use this product and this is what it did for us and you could try this for your business." And so the churn stopped on all the accounts that I was given and they actually started buying more products and that's when I got moved into sales. And so I was officially in sales. Then I, wasn't super thrilled with where their products were going at the time, and so I went to Marketing Vitals,
Mm.
and worked under Rom Krupp. I had heard nothing but amazing things about him, and so Rom was really my Fishbowl was a crash course in sales because I'd never done it. Rom was a crash course in tech. He had been working for 20 years and I'm curious and I'm like a sponge. And so every contact he had became contacts I had. Everything he knew, I was writing down furiously. In fact, my training with him, he would do these demos that were so smart and so articulate, but he was speaking up here to the clients. So once I understood it, I could bring it down here. And that's really if I think back about my time at the financial company and I think back on what we're doing here at Signal Flare now is I'm a translator. Like, I sit in the space between the technology people, in terms of that technical language that nobody cares about, and how it actually relates to restaurants, right? Like, our industry is not super sophisticated technologically, and it's really runs the gamut. Some people don't even have all their data in one place or know why that's important. The variety from independents to global corporations is so huge. So where I've landed for myself is pretty much in like the enterprise space, which helps me touch a ton of technologies. So if I were to think about like where the industry is going, is saying AI is just like, of course, everybody's going there. I think what's happening is like everyone I'm talking to out there is doing something. Claude seems to be the primary workhorse, and we have built a solution that competes sort of with Claude. And, so that's been really fascinating, and as I'm watching these restaurant companies, brag about how they're putting all their data into Claude, even if it's a corporate account, it's like, "Is that secure? Do you know where it's going?" We hear the stories of their tokenization use going up because that context window gets longer and longer, and that's more and more and more processing, and that's how Claude makes money, right? Claude is one LLM. We tap into 150 different LLMs. Claude has memory for you, but doesn't have memory for your team or your company. So we have a secure compounding memory, multiple LLMs, and final thing is doesn't hallucinate.
Yeah.
So Navigator is our agentic AI solution, and it just will not return a wrong answer. So I've got a gal who recently started using it in marketing, and she must have sent me, I don't know, 3,000 words via text this weekend because she was so floored at what was possible. She just uploaded some of her ovation data into what she already had from sales data and what we can tell her externally, and just blown away, blown away.
What did she do? What was she able to do with all of that in one centralized location? Because that's a huge struggle, not only for restaurant people, but for retailers, for everybody who even the CPG peeps who have no idea how much they're selling or why or to whom, because it's all through third-party distributors. How does it bring it all together?
We're working with a client right now that's in that has, like, a product that is also in retail, think selling at the grocery store, but they're also a restaurant, and, that's interesting work, and so we are gonna be working with, anything in the food and beverage space, and we built this essentially this semantic layer and ontology that gives meaning to the vernacular that we use in restaurants and CPG. So think about it like this. If you were to ask Claude about traffic, you might get something with cars and parking and those kind of results. But when we think about it in restaurants, it's literally foot traffic, a footfall, people coming into. We've taught it those kinds of things. Our system knows that check average can be calculated 15 different ways. It's not just, divide by the number of transactions. It might be by the number of entrees. It might be, you just never know. Could be gross, could be net. And so, what this gal has been doing is she's uploaded all of her review data into, like I said, her sales data and the external data, and she's been running analytics around what's happening at the World Cup because think of our solution as like the best calculator you'd ever find, right? It's not gonna lie to you, it's not gonna return a wrong answer, and so you can build custom dashboards. Marketing can have their own dashboard that's different to finance. They can be living, breathing HTML documents downloaded to PowerPoints, PDFs, whatever you like. And so I think that where the industry is going is that we are going to see the models that we use change. They're going to move from these per store per month fees, which everyone hated, but they're going to go into these consumption modeling, which the big guys are going to adopt first. And then they're going to go, oh my God, we're spending millions of dollars on tokens. We need to manage this. And that's where a solution like ours, like we just helped a client go from $25,000 in consumption costs a month to 800 because our solution taps into multiple LLMs. It says, what kind of question or command are you asking? What's the best tool for this? We return multiple answers, confirm that it's correct, and then give that one to the client. And everything is sourced. So it's not like this magical, where did it come from? So I think where we're at, we're really high on the hype cycle with AI. We're about to go into the trough of disillusionment. We're already hearing it, right? Oh, that didn't work. Oh, this voice AI, this one, this. So my advice to folks out there is like start small, chip off little things, do one thing well. Really invest some time in getting your processes into a system like Claude. It makes it easier to then transition to a system like Navigator. If you leave Claude, you have to export all that knowledge, but if you lose a team member on Signalflare's Navigator, all that knowledge stays.
Sounds like a center of excellence for AI. It's like everything's in one spot that continues on rather than all this disparate different team members using different LLMs, all the different levels of
Yeah,
knowledge.
you can share work, you can share, and so really it works in that way, like, as marketing's putting in their unstructured data, things like creative and assets, creative assets, and then you've got finance, their spreadsheets or food costs, and operations might have, like, voice of customer type of data. All that data going into the same place, and now you can just ask it. And for us, because we've taught it restaurant and we've taught it our proprietary things like menu analysis, this is how we deliver pricing going forward. So in the old world, you've worked with large franchise groups, a vendor might give a spreadsheet to a franchisee and here you go, or see you later. Well, the franchisee says, where does this number come from? They might have a consultation with a franchise business consultant, but that person doesn't know their business as well as our navigator does. It can't see the signals sitting outside. And the best part is if the client says, well, I don't like your dime increase and I want to kick it up to a quarter, we can show them in real time what will happen to not only their traffic, but to their check. And that's a key differentiator because most of our competitors assume that every price change flows 100% through to the bottom line. And if you just think about how people order, if you think lunch is going to be $20 and you get there and the combo's now, 19.99, you might go, well, I can sacrifice the drink today. I'll drink water. And so you've essentially degraded the check because the item prices individually have gone up so much. So we can see that in our data. So it's a fascinating new world, and I believe that the restaurant industry has a chance here to leapfrog and catch up to where they haven't been before because of AI.
I agree. And well, tell us more about what you mean by that, because while the restaurant industry is ahead in a lot of ways from a data standpoint, especially in franchise models, far
Yeah.
behind.
I mean, to quote Mike Lukianoff, who I adore, he says, "I worked with restaurant data since it was an oxymoron." So we are the best at getting restaurant data clean and ready to go, but you can see it in the market. There's a ton of companies that have popped up that are doing just this, right? Like that's their whole thing is building out all these connectors to these restaurant tech companies, getting those data together, and then they slap a chat wrapper on it and expect that, and people are buying that. But that is really just an easy way to run a report. It's not really doing complex analytics. And the things I would challenge people to think about are who is the originator of the data? If the data is coming from the POS company, put it in a Snowflake warehouse, then everybody can use it, whatever vendors. If it's like a BI tool, well, you already have the POS data. Why do you need the BI tool? Because you can now do it with.
Remove the middlemen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these solutions in the market, and I won't call anybody out, but they should be concerned, really concerned for their businesses and putting a chat wrapper and knowing the difference between that, like what's real modeling, what's a chat wrapper, what's the context. We just went to the Snowflake Summit. Snowflake is an investor in us, and we won their startup challenge a couple years ago. The entire show was about context. So now we've got AI that can do all this action and work for us, but it's really about the context around the problem, right? If I've got access to data that you don't, if I can see that inflation is going up and gas prices are going up and people are commuting, far in this area, it's probably not a good time to add a price increase. If you don't have that kind of access, you're not going to see that. And so we're going to see some of the new messaging you'll probably be seeing in the next 6 months will be all about context. And it's the guy with the data that wins. So what I'm trying to do is build out a marketplace of alternative data sets because I know that there are vendors in this space who offer something unique where they do generate data or they uniquely capture a large volume of data that we could anonymize and then use in essentially modeling behind our four walls, behind our software.
Super exciting. One of my first assignments when I was a lowly marketing analyst at Yum Brands, the biggest restaurant company in the world, was go ahead and analyze how the gas prices that are rising will impact our visitation and our sales. I was like, what are you talking about?
Did you come to the conclusion that in 6 weeks your sales will drop because that's what will happen?
Only because I got the finance guy in on it with me. I was like, what in the world?
Well, see, this is the thing, is so, like, we sell to finance, we sell to marketing, IT is usually an influencer, but with AI, they're definitely much more at the table, and everybody is learning. So what I see is and what I've been talking to my team about is, do we go head on after marketers? Because there's a lot of CDPs out there in the market, but what is a CDP but an aggregation of data sets, which means they're not generating any unique data sets,
Yeah,
which means what do you need it for?
that's right. Wait, and give me an example of one of those anonymous data providers. What data do you feel like you are missing that would be helpful to add in?
Well, so, like, here's an example, and, in the CPG world, I think this makes a ton of sense. So, I would really love to pull in black box intelligence data, and I would really love to partner with Data Central because we have data in modeling that they don't do, and same with black box, right? So, if you like, we can see traffic share, we can see traffic, we know check average from our credit card data, but we don't have like real reported sales data. So even like as an example, Toast IQ product, if they made that data available in a tool like Signalflare, we could monetize it because they're not giving one-to-one data. They're giving aggregated data that is saying based on these thousands of restaurants, we're seeing that sales in Philadelphia are up or down. We're seeing that, coupons are being used or those kinds of things. So it starts to lean into, okay, this is a value economy. Okay, these people are coming at lunch because they can't afford dinner. Oh, they're splitting entrees. So those kind of insights, even in aggregate, are very valuable.
Love. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And I
Mhm.
would love to connect you with a couple of favorites of Black Box and Data Central. Let's see what we can do.
If they are their customers, I would love to connect with them and show how the two tools can work together because essentially we don't have to have a connection to them. You just export a spreadsheet and upload it into Navigator as part of your context. So people that have Black Box and people that have Data Central have a richer context. So specifically in the CPG world, I see how we could work together very, very easily.
Sounds like a co-branded collab is necessary there. What else do you wish for when you think of what's to come? And completely see your point about the context. One thing that I would like to make now, now that everybody can vibe code and create apps, I'm gonna try to make an app that is iterative refinement of your next new product, where you like swipe left, swipe right has existed before, but it can't actually change the visual of the offering, whether it's a dish or a drink or an actual product. That's all feasible now. You can do anything. What are some other things that you wish for next that you wanna see?
Ooh. So, well, I don't know, for myself or just for the industry, like, what do I
Oh,
wish for? I can give
maybe
you a
one of
whole
each. One of each.
list. What I wish for myself is I would like to get, on a board. I think that's the next sort of role in my career and where I'm at. I just hit the big 50, and I have that MBA, and I'm in the restaurant business. I've been helping these companies for years drive sales, so I know that I can offer something really valuable. So I'd like to be on a board, and I'd like to get a C-level title.
There you go.
There you go.
Easy enough.
So, yeah, so if you're out there and you're looking for somebody on a board, I'm not a yes man, though. You're not gonna if you don't want someone to challenge you and think outside the box, I'm not your girl.
Oh, that's why it kills me when you call yourself a vendor. I call you an
No.
expert. I call you
I just joke, I'm a lowly vendor because that's how this industry, especially some of these event organizers, that's how they treat you.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, recently heard one of the big event, people in this space, they're now ruling out fractional executives.
Ooh,
So
my.
apparently we're gonna have to start showing our pay stubs in order to get into their hoity-toity events. won't
Or
name
we just
names.
no, we just start our own restaurant concept and we do it on the
Well, that's
side.
exactly what's happened, and so because of all of the poor practices of some of the event companies in our space, what is
Yes.
happening is that there are secondary events, smaller events that are happening, outside of it, so
Yes.
what I really want is some success for our own podcast. You
Yeah.
know, Erin and I started this adventure well over a year ago. It's been almost a year and a half. Candidly, like we've made just under $50,000 in sponsorships. We don't take any of that money. We're using it to fund our travel and to fund the producer making it. But we've gotten a couple. We got a repeat sponsor who was basically said, "I just want to be able to talk about you guys and the good stuff you're doing in the industry." And it's my favorite part of the week because for 1 hour, I just get to have fun and it is all about the other person. So, I would love for us to get some more keynote opportunities. We had a really great showing at the Wisconsin Women's Restaurant Association, and we got to interview Julie Fussner live on stage, the CEO of Culver's. And then the CEO of Cousin Subs, Christine Speck, she was there and she said, "I want to come on your podcast." And so we've had people reach out and PR pitch us. We've had all kinds of stuff. And, but I'm still usually chasing people down. I know you can relate.
Sure. Sure.
Women are so hesitant to come on to these podcasts.
Yeah.
They when I reach out to a woman, they say, "I don't have anything to say. I can't. It's about work." And I was like, "Yes, you can. Like you can. This is your chance to tell your story and you just might inspire somebody else."
That's right. That's right.
So,
Which is
yeah.
why I'm glad you're with me today because you're always interviewing someone else. It's about time you got to tell your story and your
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
what made you wanna start Bite Size and Bossy, and what do you picture for it as these sponsorships rolling in? And that Wisconsin interview was hilarious.
Right? You should see
Awesome.
the one with Tammy Lusich that we just did. It is so funny.
Can't wait.
She literally says, "I sweat glitter."
Oh, we all do.
So I would need to get like t-shirts that say hashtag sweat glitter, which brings me to like, what are our goals with the podcast? I'm
Oh,
actually
tell
going.
Tammy no, I've already listened to that because you sent it to me, but also the, Meghan Trainor song with Shimmer. Almost
Oh,
fix it too.
there we
That could
go.
be one of your faves. Go on.
There you go. There's your branding. Look at my little earrings that my friends got
Uh-huh.
me.
I love it. I got little
Um, so what do we want for the podcast? I'm actually going to Wisconsin next week, and we are gonna sit down and sort of pound out, like, what are our goals? What do we wanna get out of this? We're about 65 episodes in, and I took the first 6 just to prove that I could do it, and I asked ChatGPT to help me write a book, with the episodes, and so what I'd really like to do is get at least 100 episodes and then weave that into a book, about women in the restaurant industry and our experiences and lifting each other up and like just write all kinds of inspirational things and put that out and then be invited to a conference and promote it. Like that's essentially this shout out to Carl Orsborn. I was like, Carl wrote a book. I can write a book. Carl gets invited to go to conferences for free because he wrote a book.
That's right.
So I want to go to conferences for free and not be a lowly vendor. So if I have to write a book, then that's what I'm going to do.
So be it. Greg Creed, Will Guidara. You can do it. I'll do it too. Let's just do it. It's
Well,
gonna
that's been a life goal, right? Like, and I see like Joseph Sala, he's written a couple books too. And I met with Arjun's son. I don't know if you know him. Do you know Arjun?
Mhm.
And he told me he was a best-selling author, and I said, "Well, how'd you do that?" He said, "Well, on Amazon, you only have to sell 1,000 books."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, how'd you say?" He said, "It's actually really hard to sell 1,000 books." I said, "Well, how'd you do it?" And he said, "I put 10 executives in the book, and I asked their companies to buy 100 copies apiece, to, essentially, get that $1,000 and put out whatever message was in there."
Yes.
And I said, "Well, I'm gonna have 100 different people in
That's
my
right.
book, and if they and their families and friends bought 10." So I think that we can do something with it. So we are gonna build a website using Lovable.
Mhm.
We've already got a good draft. We wanna systemize our, like, setup process, the scheduling, the questions,
Mhm.
the information for having guests on the podcast, and so that's a goal.
Yeah.
And then, I think we've gotta figure out, like, our own marketing plan. Erin's LinkedIn is, like, 20,000 and mine is growing very slowly, but people aren't trying to sell me something.
That's right.
And
That's
also
right.
she's way funner.
You're both fun. You're both super fun.
We've
I love
decided
that
that
idea.
I'm the serious business one and she's the fun one. That's our personas.
I love it. Well, that's exciting, and I will be there to support you when you're ready to launch your book. I have a couple of
Awesome.
book ideas that I'm gonna pitch to you later. One
Cool.
is more about work stuff and creativity. One is more about work mom, home mom. So
Mhm.
I'll yeah, we'll
When you do
guys.
that, if you want some other executives, I would, throw out Whitney Hawthorne's name at Snowflake. She is a mom, a boy mom, and she has written a couple books on that, and she could be somebody good to quote and just talk with about maybe what she's done, so happy to connect you there.
Love it. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, it's very exciting to see what Bite Size and Bossy is. And like you said, to give these other female leaders who might otherwise skip those opportunities to share. And I think you're going to find some amazing key themes as you
Mhm.
aggregate all these findings, all these different interviews.
Well, the beauty of it is I'm gonna let Claudia find those things. See, this is where
Claudia will
though
bring it all together for us.
Claudia and ChatGPT and if you're using the LLMs, you start to realize that, like, some are they're better for different things. So, like, I think ChatGPT might be better for, like, creative and writing, where Claude is like a workhorse, right? You can take your spreadsheets, your PowerPoints, and everybody is using Claude Cowork.
What is something that you think AI cannot do? What
Oh,
will never go away, especially in the restaurant
w
space?
what can
Technology.
what can AI not do? A lot of things, honestly. It can't make judgment. Right? On paper, just give you an example. On paper, it may say, fire this person. They're late. It's their sixth time. They were 2 minutes over on their break, blah, blah, blah. But if you know that their dog just died, so AI is going to always and should always require a human in the loop. And it's interesting because as we're getting RFPs from these big vendors in the space, I've had two on pricing recently. And, in both cases, they were very specific at no autonomous price changes.
Yes.
So, I would say price changes.
Good call. People have
Mhm.
been asking me a lot how it's changing research, like consumer insights, because you can put so many things into the same place. Like we broke down earlier, sales,
Mhm.
reviews, and you can see the key themes and summarize. But the thing it cannot do are those deeper emotive insights. The how does this make you feel, and the imagery or the
Right.
experiential. We're still going to have to do all that work.
It still requires guidance, right? I think that the research example is great. So we recently, we just got hired to do a research project, and what we were talking about doing is usually at the end, you do this, you give a presentation and you give a report, and it's like bye bye. With AI, we deliver that report with the context of what's happening outside of 4 walls and in their areas. Now that is a living document. And the consultant is gone, the project is finished, but you're like, "Oh, I'm wondering how that would work if this," or "What we didn't ask about this." Now you can go back into it and it can actually slice and dice the data in different ways than the original consultant might not have thought to. So we view what we're doing with Navigator, even in the research world, as taking that beyond.
That is so cool. I can
It's
really see
super
that working
cool.
too with things like journey mapping. I mean, you map it out, and
100%.
you're adding new inputs so that it's constantly evolving and it's always up to date.
Well, this is where Liz, if you're working with restaurant companies and Starry-Eyed, should become a Signal Flare customer. You load in all the data, you load in all the stuff, and then it will do the work for you.
Totally. I've been facing off, our proprietary, like, primary research with what AI predicts it to be, and it's similar, but you still, yeah, need that human oversight. So, yeah, we'll talk about our own co-branded collab. Have you used ideogram at all for
No,
imagery? That's
no.
so for design or creating things that don't
Mhm.
exist yet,
Yeah,
ideogram.
that's you, babe.
Yeah. Well, let's switch into a little starry-eyed sparks lightning round. I stole this from
Sure.
Bite Size and Bossy, obviously. When I was on Bite Size and Bossy and had such a good time, then we could exchange collabs. What's the best or most inspiring book you've read, Tammy? That could be of all time or lately.
Girl, I do not read. I am not trying to write a book to read a book. No, I joke, but I really don't do a lot of reading. I sometimes will listen to books, but there's a couple books that I have that I've kept. Um, and one of them is Who Moved My Cheese because I am historically and just by my human design nature, an agent of change. I bring change and newness everywhere I go. So every once in a while, I've got to put that back in front of myself. And then another one that I really loved was Influencer.
Mm.
Like you
Remind me
don't
of that one.
realize, yeah, you don't
I'll take
realize who's the influencer.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
those are awesome. I'm like you, I aspire to be reading all the time, but I don't really have the time, so I just have stacks of books all around me,
Mhm.
and then I'll carry them or have them
Oh,
virtually, and I'll skim them at times, but may or may not make it through.
no, I've discovered Audible, and so I started listening to books, so I read the couple of the, like, Epstein-y books, but we won't go into that.
I'm gonna skip that. I listened to Brandy Carlisle's Broken Horses. Have you listened to
Uh-huh. I have not listened to that, but I've listened to her music. I've seen her in concert. She's wonderful.
She is wonderful. With it tells the whole story of her life, and then in between each chapter, she sings to you. And so you know how the songs were inspired.
That's awesome. I hope Taylor Swift does that one day.
That's a great idea. Oh my gosh. That's a
Yeah,
great idea. That'll
keep
be
on
another
her.
billion-dollar idea. Okay. What is a brand you admire that's not your own? One of your own.
A brand I admire that isn't my own. Well, sitting here with my collection of Yetis, Yeti now has a feature where you can engrave, and I mean anything. Um,
Mm.
so I have been sending our sponsors engraved mugs with the Bite Size and Bossy logo and their name on the other side, so they're unique. I just had my 50th birthday and went to Cabo, and I had 10 Yeti cups made of different colors, and I made a logo in Canva for my 50th. And then on the other side, I put their name. So everybody got a custom branded cup, and I ordered them on Mother's Day when the engraving was free. So, like, go Yeti. And
Yeah.
also, then you can't return them. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant strategy, like, brilliant. And
That's my
I
favorite starry-eyed gift too, but this is a Stanley.
Oh,
So,
that's okay. I like Stanley
it's
too.
similar. It's
And does
similar.
Stanley do the engraving on their website too?
They do.
Mm.
That's such a
Well,
cute idea, and what a wonderful birthday surprise for everybody.
it's also just it's a nice thing because 'cause they're expensive cups, right? So, I'm just a big fan of that kind of an experience. I love personalizing things for people.
That's wonderful, and I
Yeah.
love how Yeti has done such a good job of going from the cooler to the beverages to the merch, the gear, the
I
wear.
have 2 stickers that I'm looking at here in my office. That's always
Mhm.
like Yeti.
Brilliant.
Yeah, if I could get Yeti or Stanley to sponsor Bite Size and Bossy, man, we'd really love it.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
What about a word that describes how you wanna lead this year?
I don't.
Yeah. Thanks
I
for
just
asking.
don't. I've never really had a choice there. I mean, but I am really not trying to be a manager or a groomer of the younger people. I did that a lot when I was younger. I don't have
Mm.
time right now.
Mhm.
I feel like my way of giving back and leading is by helping people find jobs. Like that's I can do it easily. I can do it on my timeline. I get to decide who I can help and who I don't have time for. Um, and so I don't wanna manage people. I don't care if you can't make it in today, just get the job done. I'm just, sort of over that point of my life. I don't really want to manage.
You can connect everybody and
Mhm.
yes, just yeah,
I'll
make
kick
sure the
open doors, and, like, I can have a 30-minute call with someone and say, "Here are 5 things that I can do for you after our call," right? That's my way of giving back and maybe my way of leading, if that's the, question, but I definitely am not looking to, like, manage a team of people.
makes sense. Well, you're leading the future of restaurant technology, so
Right. Well, and
that's
I love, like, I would consider myself a leader in that, like, helping Whirl get off the ground. I think I won the award for convincing the most people to go.
Mhm.
In the second year. And we've been invited twice through a group I created with Crystal Craven and Lauren Selman Worth to present there. So in those ways, I'm leading, but I'm not intentionally looking for that type of a role.
That makes sense. How are they tracking that for, by the way, for rural?
I don't know. I told those guys, I said, listen, I get that I'm a lowly vendor. And at some point, you're going to want sponsorship money from me to attend these things. But I just hope that you know what I bring to the table. It isn't always the sponsorship dollars. I did an event with Mertech this past fall, and I went to the originators of the event, and I said, "Listen, we don't have a lot of money, but I have great content, and I can bring more sponsors." And we really put together an amazing day of AI content, and we're hopeful that we're going to be able to do that again real soon.
Oh, that's awesome. I was not able to go to that. I think I was in research, but I hope to see you for the next one as not a
Well,
vendor, but yes, as an expert in space.
The content I think from Mertech is online. I think it's
Nicole.
Hospitality Technologies YouTube page. I need to post that on our own website. But yeah, our CEO did a great segment on knowledge bases. So if you want to learn about AI, I'd go to that Hospitality Technology YouTube page and see if you can find those.
What's one thing you'd like to try in the next year?
Yeah. Well, I would like to try to take more time off work.
That would be good. Where do you wanna go next? You've already been to your birthday celebration down south. Where else?
Yeah, my next, overseas destination, I would like to be Greece, so it's just a matter of time before that happens. Maybe I'll
Beautiful.
go on some singles outing.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Maybe you
Mhm.
should do a cruise, like a cruise around Greece to all the
Well, my friend
little
actually
mini
works
cruise.
for
I
the
mean, we took a boat to Crete, and that was
Mhm.
very dreamy.
Well, my friend works for a cruise line that it does all the Greek Isles, and so that would be, like, the only way that I would wanna cruise. I'm not a big cruiser, but, yeah,
It makes sense if you're island hopping.
that's exactly why I'm like, "Okay, that could work," but
Okay. And what about your go-to walk-on or pump-up song? What did you and
oh.
Erin play on the big stage, the
I
Culver
don't
City?
remember, but she's really big on the hype song, and I'm like, "Madonna."
Any
There's a
particular
new
one?
album coming out.
Timeless.
Well, she's definitely aged and her butt has grown.
She could still sport a little bodysuit.
I listen, she's hot, she looks great. I'd give good money to look like she does, even if I can critique her butt.
Any what's your all-time favorite Madonna song?
Oh, all-time favorite? God, there's so many, but it's probably Joan of Arc.
Oh, good one. Alright, and your favorite cocktail or mocktail?
Favorite cocktail? I'm a vodka soda girl, not super interesting. I do like the Aperol spritzes, and I've really moved a lot to bubbles. So I'm drinking a lot more bubbles than hard liquor these days.
Oh, that makes sense. That's good for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Well, this has been so fun to be with you. I think that you are also the fun one, for the record,
Aw.
and I love to spend time with you. What's one thing you'd encourage brand leaders to do or try after today? In addition to obviously trying Signal Flare if you're in the restaurant tech space.
Yeah, honestly, if they're in the restaurant space, they should take a look at Every Bite. What they are doing is super cool, and there's no reason every restaurant company shouldn't do it. They digitize the nutritional menu so that you can sort and filter for allergens, calorie count, all the macros, ingredients, and you can save your profile. And if the next company has it, you can port it over, which means when you're looking at a menu, you get to look at these menus through the lens of like a personalization, like what appeals to you. Like if you don't like tomatoes today, you don't like tomatoes tomorrow either. Right? And so, they have this great solution, and what it does for the, business on the other side is they're getting deep insights around what people like and care about that they can keep and use in their marketing to these individuals. And now with data and technology, it's super easy. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why everyone and it's really affordable. Everyone should have a digital menu, and in California, we're gonna require it. So I'd say they should try Signal Flare and Everybite.
Love it. What's your advice to, regardless of industry, your advice to these up and coming brand leaders who wanna get better with AI other than using it for all kinds of things, use it for everything, study
Yeah.
it.
What I've been doing is just trial and error in talking to people. Ask your peers. The more that I ask people like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you playing with?" I mean, even I might sound like an expert, that's just because 'cause I'm in sales. I'm not an expert. I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm playing in Claude Cowork, I'm playing in code. I really taken to Claude Design and actually am working on a deck right now in Claude Design. Um, so I would just say keep trying new things.
That's right. Super exciting. Well, and lastly, who's a creative leader you think we should invite next to Stay Starry-Eyed?
Ooh, creative. I really think you should invite Renee Scott.
Yes.
She is a boatload of energy, really smart, been in the industry a long time, and she's got beautiful, fiery red hair.
We got to go to Austin together with her. I think she's a
That's right.
wonderful next
Yes, that's where
Starry-Eyed
we sort of
guest.
solidified our bond.
That's right. That's right. Well, Tammy, thanks again for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. I'm excited to see you at our next conference, maybe this fall, but also at Whirl next weekend.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for asking me, Liz.
Of course. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Stay Starry-Eyed podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas, strategies, and tools you can use to move your brand and business forward. If you enjoyed this episode, here's how you can help share it with your fellow brand leaders who need it most. Hit follow, share it with a friend, and please leave us 5 stars or a quick review. You know we love all the stars. You can also find show notes, resources, and additional inspiration at starryeyedstrategy.com. Until next time, stay starry-eyed.